Hanging out at the All-Star Bar here at Melbourne Ballpark alongside the manager of the back-to-back ABL Claxton Shield champion, Melbourne Aces, Allan de San Miguel. Decent, it was a season full of ups and downs, a roller coaster. Take me through your eyes. What did it look like? How would you evaluate the season for the Melbourne Aces?
Well, we definitely had to prepare for anything. The first series of the season basically gave us that impression of what was to expect for the year when we were in Sydney, and we had basically a little COVID scare. We had to get back into Victoria, so it was more the fact that we just had to be on our toes for anything at any given time. And same thing happened a couple of weeks later against Perth here in Melbourne, and then Canberra came in and saved the day and got some games in, and then the same thing at the end of the season where the championship was basically dictated on the one final game at the end of the year. So definitely a interesting year, especially going into my first year of managing. And I said this at the beginning of the year, that it's probably some of the hardest things that anyone would have to do as a manager at the beginning of the season, and we get all the hard stuff out of the way first.
What did you learn in your first year as a manager? Were there any takeaways that you had when the season came to an end?
The biggest thing was more people managing, and everyone had said that before when I went into the job, and that was probably the biggest thing, is just trying to understand each and every player that we had, and basically making sure that they stay together as a team and keep the glue together. And for me, probably that was the most challenging part, and I think moving forward, I think that's always going to be.
A lot of success from the pitching staff this year, the second lowest earned run average in the ABL. A couple of arms specifically to highlight. Drew Anderson, lights out at the back end of the bullpen, and then Brian Flynn locked down the Game 1 starting role. What did you see from the two of them and the pitching staff as a whole this year?
Well, you could really tell that basically these were big league guys, and we wanted some big league arms to set the tone for our staff and our pitching staff. And they didn't disappoint. As you can see by their numbers, Brian was amazing out of the rotation, and Drew put up ridiculous numbers closing out games. And the amount of one-run, two-run ball games we played this year was, for me, that's the best part of the game. And for us to end up winning most of those games and Drew sealing the door on that, it's nice to have an anchor at the end of your pen which can just shut out games.
How about a guy like Colin Willis? He was slumping to begin the season, missed a few weeks, and then he came back stronger, better than ever, as good as last year, and he slotted into that leadoff spot really nicely. What prompted that move, and what did you see from him in the leadoff spot?
Well, we were messing around with trying to find the right guy and the right spark plug to just get on base. And basically I sat there, and every week would be a different guy leading off, and I went through Berkey and Galen and Jared Dale for a game, and basically just trying to find that right fit and that right glue. And Colin Willis, if you look at his numbers, he just gets on base. And at the end of the day, we had nothing to lose by leading him off, and we're like, all right, let's just see how this goes. And it really worked out, and it just showed what it meant to actually get on base and lead every game. The first inning, yeah, it's pretty good when you have someone at first base ready to go.
A couple of the guys that you mentioned there I want to touch on in Jared Dale and Chris Burke. If you look at the Aces lineup on paper, the top six were absolutely ridiculous. But then when you get to the bottom of the order, there was a lot of production from the guys like Chris Burke and Jared Dale and their young guys too. What was it like to see them take big steps forward at the plate this year?
Massive. You can tell that they're getting better and better each year, and they are playing. The more they play, the more they're going to get better. And for two young pro guys, they've got a huge career ahead of themselves, and I'm extremely happy for both of them, because this is a big stepping stone, especially for Jared this year in the States, and for Chris going into his first year in the pro ball. So hopefully that everyone over in the States sees that and can open up some eyes for these two young boys.
One special thing about the Aces lineup this year was that everybody was versatile. You didn't have you saw guys playing 1, 2, 3, even 4 positions in the case of Ade McTomshay. How important was the versatility on the team, being able to plug guys in wherever you needed them?
That was always the plan going into it because of COVID. So you just never knew what was going to happen, right? We had 3 catchers on the roster. We had Damek Tonchka playing 4 or 5 different positions. We've got Jared Cruz that could do the exact same, which is great. Chris Burke got a lot of time in the outfield, so he can focus on his hitting, and that worked out really well for us. Jack Barry played left field and first base. So the versatility it's so important, because then it can help you match up your lineup a bit better as well. And that's what we did based on pitching, and the philosophy for what we had at the beginning of the year worked.
Two guys that didn't see a lot of time last year. Darryl George missed the entire season, and then Josh Tolles missed the second half of the season. How important was it to see them not only play a full season this year, but contribute massively to the championship as well?
Huge. They're a big part of this organization, and they're going to be for a very long time. And the two veteran Australian guys, and for Georgie to have a whole year off because of the injury and come back and do what he did, it's a credit to him. His spring training this year was amazing, his preparation, and the same with Tolsey. Tolsey was in the States the whole year, and he got stuck in COVID and couldn't play any baseball over with the Phillies. And for those guys to come out, and I think everyone was itching to play, I think that was the biggest thing, is they were ready to play, and they didn't waste any opportunity out on the field.
So the championship's been won for the second year in a row. How do you, the coaching staff in the front office, assess where the roster is at, and how to add and improve moving into next year?
Well, we'll take a couple of weeks off right now and just enjoy it for a little bit. So it's been a very long year, and we started putting this year's team together in April of last year. So I'm thinking we'll probably do the same thing again and just enjoy it. There are a few key guys that we need to take care of first, and they were on the top of the priority list. But for the most part, we had a really, really good team this year, and it's something that we want to keep together. And for the Aussie guys, we need to keep building them up and keep making them the core of the team, and then the imports fill in the other spots.
Desan, really appreciate you taking the time to talk with us today, and congratulations again on the championship season.
Thanks, Nick. Appreciate it.